Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Kenny Boucher, your host tonight with no adult supervision, coming to you with Wyatt Turk and Mike Haspil out of his self-imposed media blackout. How's it going, guys?
Yo, what's up?
Yeah, how's it going?
Yo, earlier on the webcast, Mike treated us to a little dramatic reading from his new project, the new Graveyard Shift novels that he's working on in audio format. So definitely go back, check out that webcast. All I'm going to say, it was amazing.
Yeah. It was fun. It's going to be a good story. So
Wyatt, if you guys are watching at home, Wyatt just got a new haircut, and I'm just enamored by how awesome it is.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I Googled top haircuts for men about to turn 30, and this is what I decided on. So I feel like a real adult now.
Nice.
Good job. Obviously, Rob Baer's not with us. He's at home at the Cat Command Center dealing with the site migration for Spiky Bits. So if you guys are encountering any issues on the site, logging into the Hall of Veterans, that's going to be resolved very soon. It's that time, another migration. Apologize for any inconveniences, but the show must go on with or without the Cat Daddy. So we don't literally without Rob to guide us. We're going to jump right into Wyatt doing comedy.
I don't know what to do with my hands. All right. This week's Would You Rather. So it's a thinker. You got to think about this rather than being gross and nasty. All right. Would you rather be able to pick the person who becomes the next president of the United States, or pick the person who directs the next Star Wars movie?
I hate America. I'm going to pick Star Wars. Burn it down. I'll at least have a good Star Wars movie to watch before the apocalypse.
I feel like I can actually game this one. I'll pick president.
Oh, okay.
Now, and obviously this is genie, like magic, but my pick sticks. Like this person I pick is the fucking president, right? Like there's no turning it down, right?
Yeah, like it doesn't even have to be an election year. It's like,
you
get to pick the next president.
See, Mike, I think we can go this route and get the result we want both ways. Mike Haspil for president. I'm literally
totally
making Mike the president. You see what I'm saying?
I'm going to change my answer because I was like, that's a good one, Kenny. That is a good one. But I was going to go a different route. But how would I prove it to people? So I think Kenny's is better. Because I was thinking if I could prove to people that whoever I picked was going to be the next president, I'd be wealthy enough to make the next Star Wars movie.
I'm just making Mike Haspil the president of the United States, and he can take it from there. He will make this movie happen one way or another, the right way. When the president of the United States, literally does a government shutdown to make sure Star Wars is done right. You know what I'm saying?
How do you argue with that? Like people are like, man, I'm not getting paid, but like fucking new Star Wars, am I right?
Yeah. I mean, the economy's in the tank and it's worse than the Great Depression, but man, that new Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I heard they got Tarantino. It's going to be legit.
Oh my God. I would slay for a Tarantino directed Star Wars movie. Hard R, like Django or Inglourious Bastards.
That's what the Mandalorian should be.
Like every time somebody gets stabbed with a lightsaber.
Yeah, I think I'm
straight up like bad.
I'm gonna stick with my original choice. Like I feel like we've had our heyday and the country's on a downward death spiral anyway. I might as well get a good Star Wars movie on the way out.
Yeah, like the guys playing violin as the Titanic is sinking.
Yep. You're just like, is that Near My God to Thee? Yes, it is. Well, it's the best. It's the best rendition I've ever heard. Oh, the water's up to our knees now. It's quite cold.
Yeah.
Classy.
Oh man. Yep.
Well, good job, Wyatt, bringing us a not gross. Would you rather? That one is for you, Horton, at home.
That's a good one.
I have no way to make it gross. I was trying. Because that's what I do.
I mean, you could have been like Jabba the Hutt is the new president and it would have magically happened. So it could have been gross.
And Tom brings up, he goes, imagine if you were the person who decided on keeping Jar Jar Binks in the movie. I would take that challenge. Like I'll go a bit beyond. Like I get to direct the next Star Wars movie, but Jar Jar Binks has to be in it. I will make everyone in the theater cry of emotion, like pathos. You will walk out of that theater feeling bad for Jar Jar.
Yeah, whoever voices Jar Jar is going to get a Best Actor award for that. Yeah,
I would use him my best and do Life of Jar Jar, and you guys would walk out. It'd be like Pagliacci. It'd be amazing. People would just be like, "Wow."
Could I make Violent J from ICP the president?
I mean, yeah, like you are the decision maker. Like in this situation, you are
regardless of credentials
of the Illuminati who gets to pick the next president.
So I was at a show on Monday night in town. And well, not in town, it was in Glendale, like a jazz show, but it was cool. Not like a normal jazz show, which are cool. And while in the bathroom, somebody noticed I was wearing Jinkos, which is mainly why it was cool. So 2 people now, since I have made a very wise financial purchase to buy 17 pairs of Jinkos, has acknowledged my wisdom.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Which is what, Violent J from ICP reminded me of this. Like this. Jinkos.
Yeah. I do have 2 things. The first is a friend of the show, Dave Ledbetter, is in the hospital right now. So just, keep him in your thoughts and whatnot. So shout out to you, Dave, if you're listening. And the second thing, because I won't be back in time, is some folks were asking earlier if I was going to be at FanX this year. I am going to be at FanX in Salt Lake City from the 5th through the 7th. And they're doing some kind of event on the 7th. I don't have the details of it yet. I'll throw them up on my Facebook since they decided to delete my websites today. Where there's going to be some kind of game playing on a game night type thing on Saturday night after the con. So if you're going to be up in that area or you're around Salt Lake, hit me up and we'll go check, hang out.
Big shout out to Dave over there.
Yeah, it's rough. I just saw a couple of his posts earlier today that things are not going too well. So hopefully he comes out of it.
All right. So let's advance the narrative. We're skipping Tabletop Marketplace because that's boring anyway. Rob's not even here. So Wyatt,
we do have some nerd stuff to talk about. Oh,
Haspil, give us something nerdy to talk about.
Yeah, they announced that The Matrix 4 is moving ahead with, I think Lana Wachowski is going to write, with Carrie-Anne Moss is back on board and Keanu.
I already saw this and I was equal parts excited, but also very confused because both of those people are dead in the Matrix canon. So what are
John
we
Wick
do?
Can't die. So I just want like Matrix 4 to be John Wick 4. The same movie. Just blend them. And it's like, hey, how come John Wick couldn't die? Oh, because he's the one.
Because he's literally the one. This is making sense. Like some of those scenes suddenly make sense to me now.
But yeah, yes. And it's like I had a conflicted feeling about it too, because I was like, The Matrix, a sequel to The Matrix. Yay. Oh, wait, we got 2 sequels of The Matrix. We got Unloaded and Regurgitated, and they both sucked.
Hey, excuse you, giant robots piloted by awesome dudes screaming while also killing larger robots with tentacles is fucking awesome. And
so why is it awesome in The Matrix, but not awesome when Space Marines get them?
It is awesome. I just built this new one that's a guy piloting a robot that is a dreadnought waiting to happen.
Okay.
And it's fucking dope.
All right. Because some people like really don't like that new
Well, they don't know how to have fun.
I agree. But I went to like there's an episode of Archer where Nazi Cyril is piloting this like robot suit thing that looks exactly the same.
Yeah, I need to make a diorama with this Invictus War suit where there's an emaciated bald guy with a wheelbarrow full of bolter rounds trying to reload it as this dude is just pissing metal out there on the defense.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
If I could have an entire movie that was like the last half hour of the fight at Zion, I would be very happy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, did I check to see if that? No, I don't know if it will or not. I don't know if it'll mesh up with the Redemptor.
Oh. Okay, so somebody dropped in. Maybe Neo and Trinity will be programs. I have it. I have the ultimate movie. It's Matrix 4, John Wick 4, Tron 3, Flynn lives. Boom. All at the same time.
So we get CGI Flynn in his younger days.
It's all the same movie.
Get old Flynn, non-CGI with and then like let's put Bill and Ted in there just for good measure.
And it's a sequel to Big Lebowski too.
Yeah. Yes.
It ties all those.
I mean, let's be honest. Tron 2 was a sequel to the Big Lebowski. He was the dude.
Yeah, it kind of was. Flynn abides.
It's funny you bring that up because like I was thinking about it, and the only thing that makes sense is that like before they died, they were like uploaded by the machines or something, because they did die in the machine city. So maybe the machines were like, plugged the things into their brains and downloaded them into the Matrix.
Yeah, I honestly did not remember that they died. So when I only saw regurgitated once, and I was done.
Trinity is like Hundy P dead. They had that moment. She does die, and then Neo goes off to the machine city for the final confrontation, and then it's left kind of ambiguous whether Neo is dead or not. But it is kind of implied that he's dead.
Okay. Cool beans. Well, we can move on to the next segment. That was our tabletop marketplace.
Did you guys stall for me while I was gone?
I did. I noticed you were leaving.
Had to keep an eye on the tiny dog. So
Nice.
she did lose her absolute shit. Good job, guys. I came back to the tail end of that. We were still talking about Matrix, so I assumed it went swimmingly.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Good nerd stuff. Also saw a comment about Bill and Ted, which I am stoked on. Bill and Ted, Bogus Journey, best movie ever made. I have a TED Talk on it. You can see that on YouTube. Let's talk about the FAQ. A lot of people were asking about if they get some of these new doctrines. What's the situation?
No.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah, so we got 3 PDFs released this past week. I believe on Thursday last week is when they came out. One is an errata. One is some character PDFs, and the other one is a summer update. The errata is pretty standard stuff. It basically updates some stat lines and keywording for certain types of war gear to update the Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Space Wolves, and Death Watch to what these read in the new Space Marine Codex. For example, an auto bolt rifle is now Assault 3, and that is reflected in the Adeptus Astartes Codex, but all these other guys, since they're using old dexes, is wrong. So this is what this is. So they did a pretty good job on the Warhammer community. It was like, if you play Space Wolves, Dark Angels, or Blood Angels, like download this. Like if you play a Codex chapter with a special character, like download this, because all of the named characters have been removed from Codex Astartes, and they will be put into
Their books.
Their specific books. So they released some PDFs, so you could play your Chaplain Gamaldus, you could play your Pedro Cantor, like all that fun stuff.
So here's a question for you. What's the over-under on those characters having gone through the Rubicon Primaris when those books come out?
I would say at least 1 or 2 might. I would bet
It's 100% some.
Yeah, like I would bet Pedro Cantor. Lysander, I'm not sure about, because I don't even think he's the chapter master anymore, right? Like,
no, I don't think he is.
Right. So like I would say the over under on Pedro is pretty good. Unsure about the Black Templars, because they're so like stuffy. I don't know if they'd be down for that, but I mean, I'd be cool with a Primaris Emperor's Champion or Chaplain Grimaldus. Like that'd be pretty dope.
I see in the chat people are like getting mad. I think Lysander's like first captain. Is it like Grimaldus? Is there a chapter master or something like that?
No, because Grimaldus is a Black Templars and Lysander's an Imperial Fist. What is his? I think it's like Vladimir Pugh or something is the chapter master of the Imperial Fist, or at least he was the last time I cared about their lore.
I apologize to all the Imperial Fist people out there. We don't care about them enough to know these facts. But I will say Lysander's a beast, and I like him.
Lysander with 3 centurions used to be the truth. It was like, I'm going to preach to you about the Emperor right now.
Remember in 4th edition, Lysander Wing? Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. It was so much hype. It was, oof. But I mean, so this does bring us to kind of a conclusion. Last week, we speculated on the Angels of Death keyword and how it would be applied to non-traditional Space Marine Index Astartes chapters, as we discussed just now. They're not getting the keyword, but they're getting the functional buffs of said keyword. And we speculated one of the avenues they might take was, here's your buffs now. As we come out with new dexes and new supplements for you, we'll give you a different keyword, right? Not Angels of Death, maybe something more thematic that unlocks a different set of doctrines or special abilities that are more thematic to you, because these people have historically had their own unique flavor. So they probably would give them something unique. Like, I mean, think about Space Wolves, right? They're like a great company, right? Like they're Legion. They don't give a shit about the index. Like they do their own thing. So we talked about it earlier. It'd be interesting to see like Wolves at the Gate instead of like, Angels of Death keyword, and it would unlock some cool set of maybe high mobility, high close-up damage doctrines for them, which I think that is the track that Games Workshop is on with Blood Angels, Space Wolves, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's how they have been historically since they got their own books. Like they have some stuff that shares between the Codex Astartes and their books, but like most of the time, they stand apart. So we talked about how we were like 99% sure that they were not going to get Angels of Death. They were not going to get combat doctrines. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. So lots of butthurt out there because people wanted it. But, if you wanted it, just...
But you're not... And that's the thing is like, they're not going to come up with a cool new rule for these Space Marines that... with a keyword oversight that unlocks it for all these people. They're going to give you the other added bonuses like the shock attack and bolter beta and all that cool stuff. You're going to get those things. And later you're going to get more love, but they're going to slow roll their content. Don't forget GW's got a content calendar they got to maintain throughout the year.
Yeah. Well, I just thought of something that's kind of a loophole. Not as far as like breaking rules or anything like that, but allowing you to do other things. Like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Wyatt. But I think with the Primaris, when they used the gene seeds, it removes any aberrant flaws that those chapters have. So now the Space Wolves can have successor chapters.
That is sort of implied. I think they talk about it a little bit in the Dark Imperium book and the Plague Wars book. That's the sequel to that, where they have the Unnumbered Sons, which is all of the Primaris Marines from all of the different chapters that fight in the Indomitus Crusade until they can either be sent out as replacements to their father chapters, or Gilliman decides to raise a new company or a new chapter somewhere else to fortify a system. So there are in fact chapters full of Space Wolves that aren't even part of the Space Wolves chapter.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, in the interim, while you're waiting for that special book, you could just use your guys as long as they're Primaris Marines, with the chapter traits that they put in this codex, and make your own successor chapter for Blood Angels or Dark Angels or Space Wolves.
I am really into the create your own chapter stuff. I will definitely be looking at it more as the narrative is advanced and how we figure out how people are going to play these new Space Marines. Because obviously everyone day one, Haspil wasn't here last week, guys, but we went on a journey, Haspil. There was a timeline. I think everyone went on this journey together. drop pods are back. Like that's a bit of a dramatic retelling of how the emotion was for the community, but not that much. It was pretty accurately done. That's the feeling. It was like drop pod. Oh, turn one. Oh, it's going to be so abusive. And then everyone's got to figure out how sudden death works again. GW sudden death, you're fine because it's like after the first turn, the first battle round, any player turn in which somebody doesn't have shit on the table, you're done, right?
Oh, so a turn, right?
Well, it's but after the first battle round. So the sudden death rule doesn't kick in until after the first battle round.
Okay.
So then, but ITC, unfortunately, in their championship document, their wording is any turn, any player turn. There's no caveat for the first game cycle. I even had a dialogue with Reese last week, and he's like, we're probably going to have to change that because drop pods ignore tactical reserves. So you can have your entire army off the table if it's all drop pods. They can come in. You can just sit off the table for 6 turns if you want. I mean, you'll lose, but you can. So this is a thing that is being addressed. So we had to go over how many references did we have to do to figure out which sudden death we're using, how many people we had to call. Then we had to go back in FAQs, and then we spent a solid 2-3 hours in Army Builder on TeamSpeak, making different drop pod armies, getting hype as fuck. Like we were so stoked. And then we finally came off of that high and realized like a drop pod span army would get its ass kicked because it's so easy. We even talked about this last week. Mike, I have 23 models in my army. I played a Slaughterfest that I went 5-1 at. Really, my 3 Lord Ds, my 2 Knights, 23 models. If you go second against me with your drop pods, I will fuck your entire game plan up with those 23 models. I will move up my Lord Ds, advance, get into big positions, zone out, triangulate, move all my Space Marines in the backfield, block my back zone out, move my Knights up in the middle. Just in one turn in like one warp time. All your drop pods, you have no choices to place them because you have to be 9 inches away from me. It's not the old inertial guidance days. So putting all your eggs in the drop pod basket after it all kind of wore off and we all settled back, we decided at the end of last week's episode, drop pods are not OP. What they are, though, is an incredible new flexible tool, as me and Wyatt did some other list building the other day. And we were like, well, what's the problem we're having with some of these units right now? Going second safely. Going second safely is the name of the game, and drop pods give you that ability. And because they exist, they also create some new winners that you haven't even thought about for the entire edition, which takes us to our next segment, winners and losers. We're going to be focusing on the positive here. Drop pods at the top. Drop pods are a clear and concise winner.
Yeah. I have a 500 million drop pods. I'm not even exaggerating. Like I have a lot. Because I used to play Black Mains back in.
Oh my God, that with the Champions of Fenris and all that shit.
Yeah.
Supplement,
but
so gangster.
That was hard to place them back then. I think I had like 10 or 11 drop pods in that army, and it was hard to place them then.
They used to be so cheap you could have a boatload.
Well, they were free.
They were free with the Black Mains. It was just like, here you go. But yeah, now with having to stay 9 inches away, that becomes very difficult. To place all of them. But
one or two is really strong.
Yeah.
Even 3.
Yeah, I dig that.
So that brings us to our segment,
even
guys.
3. Well, okay, so can you still do the old trick that we used to do where you assign a drop pod to the unit and then the unit deploys on the table?
Yeah, you just purchase dedicated transports.
Yeah. So
and in
then
deployment,
that
you do whatever you want.
Drop pod sits in orbit until the end of the game. And then you just drop it in the backfield. Easy peasy.
Behind enemy lines all day.
Yep.
No, that's why drop pods are a clear winner. I put them at the top of our winners list this week because not only do they help you deploy units and go second safely, which we will go over multiple times on this list, they do other things. Like in Wyatt's Ultramarine list, he's been playing and doing really well with. There's certain things he just doesn't pick. Like recon is not something he really thinks about because he's like, oh my God, it's almost every time I think about doing recon, like I end up not maxing it out. But just a couple of drop pods, recon suddenly becomes an all day, every day secondary ITC. And the more things like recon you could do with secondaries, which are like ways to score without actually killing enemy models, the better your secondaries look. So drop pods can do that. Drop pods can be in the quarter they need to be in. They can kind of pedal, I'm going to call it pedal drag, an objective while deploying a unit safely to put their combi weapons or whatever. They're a winner for more than just one reason. They give you control. They help you with objectives, secondaries, all sorts of things. But we'll come back to drop pods because there's other things on our list. I'm going to kick it over to Wyatt. Talk us through dreadnoughts. Why dreadnoughts were already good? Why are they even better?
So dreadnoughts are good twofold. The first thing is just combat doctrines in general. Combat doctrines made pretty much anything you can think of better in one way or another. So right off the bat, generic dreadnoughts are better because of the Devastator doctrine. It gives you additional AP for all heavy weapons, which dreadnoughts are mostly armed with, and things like your Mortis dreadnoughts, your Contemptor Mortis dreadnoughts, your Relic Contemptors. Hell, even the Leviathan dreadnought became scarier because in the Devastator doctrine, it's -3 on its storm cannon arrays. So that part is really, really cool. When you get into the Ultramarine stuff, like anything that is Ultramarines is quite a bit better because of its specialized doctrines and its specialized stratagems. So things that got generally buffed in the new codex, like aggressors, are now preposterous in the Ultramarines unit. Like the ability for a horde of aggressors to live in the tactical doctrine as Ultramarines, walk around the table, and double tap all the time is huge. Because the wording for the addendum to the tactical doctrine is you count as not having moved, not you do not suffer the penalty for firing heavy weapons.
Yeah.
So dreadnoughts are better, especially your Forge World dreadnoughts that hit on 2s. So they're not taking that penalty. Ultramarines are the only people that can take Relic Contemptors with Sea Beamers, and those guys can run around the board and shoot those Sea Beamers. Suppressors are really cool with Ultramarines. So there's a lot of stuff that make
Ultramarine is a huge winner here. Like all of these units are good. Ultramarine makes them a little better though. They all are winners regardless of Ultramarines though.
Yes.
Which I love. I mean, Ultramarines, anyone, I mean, and that's great because a lot of people who are playing Space Marines were playing Ultramarines.
Yeah.
So that's a huge win for the Ultramarine people out there. Let's talk about Chaplains. Chaplain is a unit that's near and dear to a lot of us. I mean, Haspil was regaling us with the old Power Fist Crozius Chaplain on Jump Pack back in the day.
I love that model.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
That is the ultimate. I mean, that model was so sick. And Chaplains have kind of been a holdover, kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy unit of this edition with like rules from the old days that really don't help anyone these days. Well, they just got a huge redo. So whether or not you run them in the combo that we went into deep last week, the Padre Pain or the Slapland or whatever you want to call it, Chaplain's just good now. They got prayers, but hey, what about the Ultramarine Chaplain?
Oh, Cassius. So until proven otherwise, I am going to proselytize the good word of Chaplain Cassius. No other chaplain does what he does, and that is cast 2 litanies per turn. Ooh. Now, he does have some drawbacks to your generic chaplains, like he can't have a jump pack, can't take any relics, can't take a generic warlord trait, but he is an 85-point HQ who is a chaplain with a Crozius, so he's nothing to laugh at in close combat. He has an additional ability where he puts out an aura, so if one of your Ultramarines models dies in the fight phase within 6 inches of Cassius, you roll a dice. And on a 6, you deal a mortal wound back to whoever killed your guy, whichever unit it was that killed your guy. So if you're having a bunch of infantry dudes fighting a bunch of other infantry dudes and you're trading casualties, like you get that extra chance to just keep on killing dudes with that single mortal wound.
Check it out. Like you're putting bullets down. Let's say this Lord D just came across the table. You're shooting him up. You're beating him up. You overwatch him. He's got like 2 wounds left. He gets in there, but like 2 wounds left. You know, Lord D still killed 10 guys. Kills a whole 10-man squad, right? Kills 10 dudes. You roll 10 dice. Hey, I rolled 2 6s. He's fucking dead. Like, and that's just for free. Cassius is dope. Chaplains are a winner. Now, obviously, if you guys don't know about the Padre Pain combo, we went into it in great detail last week. Mm-hmm. It is amazing. The damage ceiling is high. If you guys remember anything about the Chaos Chain Lord that was real hype, when all that dropped, this basically is the Space Marine Chain Lord. He is a beautiful 90-point jump chaplain that can kick anyone's ass in a fist fight.
Yeah, he's an absolute nuclear warhead, and I will definitely be using one. I think if you're an Ultramarines player and you run any type of shooting power in your army, Cassius is like an auto include as part of your buff characters. Because it looks like Gilliman's not what he used to be. And I still love him to death. And
Gilliman is a loser, like a winner and loser. He's a
loser as far as the codex is concerned, but he's still Gilliman, and he still gets shock assault and all of that fun shit.
He will kill anything in the game in close combat. He's still a chaplain. Yeah. I mean, he's still a Primarch, not a chaplain.
Yeah, Primarch. Yes, he's disgusting. But I think you have to be a little bit more discerning with putting Gilliman on the table, like only bringing him with specific list archetypes. So like myself, who runs a mobile gun line with all of the dreadnoughts, I've been looking really closely at Calgar, and I've also been looking really closely at just bringing a generic captain and lieutenant combo and making that captain a chapter master. And it gets you a lot of points back that you can put a lot more guns in there. And I think if you're running a shooting power type army, with the Ultramarines, Cassius is something you really want to look at for the ability to put out 2 litanies for, the price of a basic chaplain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. So, I mean, Ultramarines have been the name of the game. So let's keep going on the Ultramarine thing. Kronos is a winner.
My boy. So Kronos got some keywords added to his data sheet, which allows him to take some different vehicles than he was used to. The Hunter and the Stalker is one of those. Of course, he's been able to go into a whirlwind and things like that. But the way that 8th edition works with keywords is basically you're going to want to look at what keywords Kronos can get into, and that opens up a lot of possibilities. One really sick combo is to put Kronos into a Relic Whirlwind Scorpius. And the Relic Whirlwind has a ability as part of its data sheet where if it does not move, it can fire its gun twice. And now in the Codex Astartes generic stratagems, there is a 1-point stratagem that lets whirlwinds fire twice. It also works for Thunderfire cannons as well, if you like those. But basically the math is you put Kronos in there, it gives this vehicle a 2+ ballistic skill. You can put a Warlord trait on it. For now, that might get a clarification in an FAQ, but the shooting works out to 9 D3 shots of this like strength 6 -2 -3 in the Devastator Doctrine thing that does multi damage. Like, it's insane.
And indirect fire. So like that is the only Scorpius. I'm so hyped for that. Kronos also could be in like a Land Raiders Achilles. We've been talking about all the cool things Kronos can be in. Kronos and his buffs, because of some of these stratums, true winner. And that's another Ultramarine win. Thunderfire cannons, though, not necessarily just for Ultramarines.
Yeah.
Thunderfire cannons, another winner.
Yeah, Thunderfire cannons still get their trimmer shells, I believe they're called, which is the you don't even have to wound with it. If you just hit a unit with that stratagem in the shooting attack, it cuts their movement and assault ranges, and I think advanced ranges too, in half.
I love that.
The only things that ignore it is Fly and Titanics. You can't do it to Knights or Eldar Flyers, unfortunately. But
yeah,
it's really cool.
It affects advance too. It's have its move characteristic and the result of any advance and charge roll.
Yeah, so now you have this one pretty cheap model. It's 92 points for the Tech Marine and the Thunderfire Cannon. So you can shoot the Thunderfire Cannon at trying to do some damage to stuff. And then if you are worried about a unit assaulting your lines, or maybe a fast moving unit, like trying to pull you off an objective or something, man, spend that 1 CP and have it fire again, and then spend 1 more CP to do trimmer shells, and then like really throw a monkey wrench into somebody.
What's the wording on trimmer shells? Is it to the end of the shooting phase?
I just closed it
until the next turn.
Dude, so like you could just pay the 1 CP. You could pay 1 CP and shoot just the trimmer cells at 2 different targets. So think about this.
How does that work? Did they FAQ that like if you do like a double shooting attack that the stratagem doesn't work both times?
No, if it says to the end of the phase, it works to the end of the phase.
Okay,
that's how obliterators do their thing with endless cacophony and vegetable long war.
Yeah, so you use the stratagem at the start of your shooting phase. Select 1 Thunderfire Cannon model from your army until the end of that phase. When resolving an attack made by that model, subtract 1 from the wound roll. but if a hit is scored, the target is shaken in your opponent's next movement phase.
So check this out. Oh my God. That's so
if
good.
a unit that cannot fly and is not Titanic is shaken, then you have the move characteristic, the result of any advance and charge rolls made for it.
So you go up against a traditional TJ Lanigan style Plague Bearer list where it has a big screen. It has 60 Plague Bearers, 30, and then 30 behind it. You just say, I'm going to shoot that one with Tremor and that one with Tremor. You just body block that dude's entire army behind his Plague Bearer screen. Both. Because he can't even move the other one through it to go further. They both are just kind of stuck. Like, that's it. Like, they're just not moving, and every part of his army that needs to start moving and stay behind Plague Bearers so they don't get targeted because they're all characters has to stay back in his deployment zone every time you tag those two units for the whole game for 92 points. And one, thank God, I love it. Thunderfire Cannon.
I think they changed its ballistic skill to 2 as well because it goes off the Tech Marine.
Yeah, the Tech Marine's ballistic skill now. So it's on 2s.
Yeah, it's on 2s.
Which is amazing.
Wow.
God.
Good thing I have a billion of those.
Space Marines have some really good reach out and touch and direct fire now, which makes me super happy to see. So let's talk about some other winners. Here's some units, guys, that have always been there that a lot of people have been playing. Stern Guard vets, company vets. These are regular power armor Marines. Mm-hmm. And suddenly they matter again. Stern Guard got a point reduction.
Yeah, they get their bolters for free now instead of an extra 2 points. So they are going to be 14, but it's still a lot better than 16. And,
yeah,
it is.
The ability to put those guys into drop pods is crazy. And Stern Guard and company veterans are the same point cost, but there's some pros and cons. So Stern Guard have the special issue bolt guns, which is pretty cool. They can also take combi weapons. So there's a pro there. And then they also have a pro in that they can go up to a squad of 10. Mm-hmm. Company veterans, however, can take their combi weapons, which is pretty cool. And they can also take storm shields.
2 points.
Their storm shields are 2 points. The downside is you can only have 5 of those. But depending on what you want to do, that type of unit that comes down with either storm bolters and storm shields or like a combi weapon and storm
turns out
shields.
5 combi plasmas and storm shields, 135 points.
Yeah. And that is a whole lot of hurt.
That hurts people. And so like that's the reason that these units become winners, guys, is back to drop pods. Drop pods let them go second safely and put the pain where it needs to be. Me and Wyatt put together a few lists, like 30 Stern Guards and 3 drop pods and 15 company vets and 3 drop pods. All the vets had combi plasma. All the Stern Guard were just raw dog bolters dropping down with a lieutenant and a captain. Literally just drop 6 drop pods down. That's the kind of firepower that nobody wants to be a part of with the way the special bolters work. Some of the stratagems, reroll all hits because you make them a master and reroll ones to wound from the combi plasmas. Here's
another really cool thing. The Seal of Oath is a relic where
I love it.
Basically, it just represents like a purity seal. And your warlord, he just calls his shot like Babe Ruth. And he's like, that Mortarion, that Magnus, that Castellan.
Preferred enemy unit, one model.
It went down. I reroll, my entire army rerolls hits and wounds against that.
Is that Ultramarine one again? Or is that everyone?
I always forget, but I think it's Ultramarines.
What is it called? The Seal?
Seal of Oath.
Seal of Oath. Because that is one of the best ones there is. It's a relic, right?
Yes. It's Ultramarines.
So Ultramarines, another winner. That's one of the best relics you can take on one of these types of drop pod dudes. Like you can just drop in and be like, just in case you guys didn't realize, we're still have Robbie G in spirit.
Yep.
Like the ghost of Starscream is with us right now.
Yep.
Like,
so here's a question. Because the special issue war gear master crafted weapon only shows up in the Ultramarines supplement and the White Scar supplement, does that mean that only those 2 chapters can do that?
Currently, but it's assumed that all of them are going to get it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, one of my favorite things, Mike, is that now you can buy as many relics as you want for 1 CP each. Instead of like, I buy 1 for 1 CP and then 2 for 3, you can just buy them all, 1 CP each.
Nice.
And you can also buy warlord traits.
And there is a bit of a discussion going on about that, the warlord traits. So there is some stratagems in the supplement books that basically allow you to stack warlord traits. And rules as written, what it allows you to do is add a warlord trait to whoever your army's warlord is. So he has a warlord trait for being the warlord, and then you spend that CP and you can give him an additional one. And I'm almost 100% positive this is going to get some kind of clarification in an FAQ, because I don't think GW wants us stacking warlord traits on anybody. But I'm seeing some people think that it's not allowed at all. I'm seeing people that think, okay, well, rules is written, you can get 2. And then I'm seeing people kind of read into it a bit more than they should, and they're saying, well, I can do like 3 on one guy. So we'll have to wait for that. But
clarification FAQ
inbound. It's something that's going on right now.
For sure. Some other winners, guys. Aggressors. Haspil, you got a few aggressors on your shelf, don't you?
I do, actually. And I was just complaining about that, because not that aggressors are bad, but when I was building my Jun Horde to create my Blood Ravens, and I was just buying up stuff at store auctions and everything, I didn't do the math. So now I have like effectively 2 Blood Raven armies. Like I have a lot, like 6,000 points of Blood Ravens. And so those came up, and I was like, man, I don't think I'm going to use them all. So some of them are going to get repainted as Space Wolves, probably.
So aggressors, they got good,
but they got an additional wound, right?
Yeah, they did get that buff. All Gravis armor units got 1 additional wound. So that also applies to the captain and the Inceptors as well. And aggressors have been like a cool unit that just haven't really been worth it up until now, because having 2 wounds is okay, but there's a lot of 2 damage stuff out there that just tears them up. Having 3 wounds changes the math on that quite a bit. It's pretty cool that they have 3 wounds now and their points didn't change. So for generic Space Marines, they're a winner. I also see them having play with some other chapters like the Crimson Fist and the Imperial Fist with their chapter tactics. Very cool. They're going to be really cool in the Tactical Doctrine because of the +1 AP on their stuff. And again, they are a big winner with Ultramarines because they double tap if they don't move. And in our Tactical Doctrine, you count as not having moved. So I think the math on 15 aggressors is something like 120 shots of just their bolter gauntlets, not even counting the frag things. Yeah. And also really cool that you don't have to double tap the same unit. So you can double tap but split that between units. So like, I think if you're seeing a lot of horde type armies in your local scene, like pick up some aggressors, because they are going to be the bane of control armies and horde armies.
They're going to kill like 100 models a turn without even sweating. We also obviously we covered the White Scars a lot last week, guys. White Scars it's like every stratagem, every unit, everything about their decks is a humongous winner. Just go back to last week. It's a whole podcast worth of content to cover. But suppressors, another unit that when it came out was okay. Had some weird things about it. I didn't like the points. I didn't like the fact that they couldn't move and shoot their weapon without taking a negative, and they were a mobile unit. Because they're the jumpy autocannon guys. And I was like,
yeah, super cool.
Why would you make them so mobile and also like they're not stabilized with their guns? Like, so lots of things I didn't like about them, but that's all changed.
Yeah. So again, with the doctrines, these guys, if you want to start them on the table, they are a 48-inch range autocannon platform with -1 AP. And these guys, their autocannons have the same damage stat line as the Leviathan Storm Cannon array. So it comes in at strength 7 -2 for 2. And in the Devastator Doctrine, it becomes -3. And 6 autocannon shots coming at you from 48 inches at -3 AP is pretty nasty. and you can still deep strike them if you want to keep them safe. So like if you're playing regular Space Marines, you take that hit for going second safely. They still drop in and can do all of their normal stuff. But as an Ultramarine, they can live in the tactical doctrine yet again and be jumping all over the place, firing those autocannons without any penalties to hit.
Ultramarines continue to be one of our favorite winners here as applied, but suppressed. But all these units are better regardless if you play Ultramarines or not. Just get, Ultramarines make it even better.
Went down in point cost. I forgot.
They also went down in point cost. Yeah,
90 points for a 12-inch move, 6-shot autocannon at -2. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, and also, just to echo the chat in some ways, like things like Centurions also, buffed, along with the aggressors. A lot of units that haven't seen as much play as they deserve to play are playable now. GW did a great job with this. They did a great job of making these units good with, by just changing this, like, a doctrine. Here's another wound. Here's a drop pod that you have been complaining about the entire edition. Now it works the way you want it to work. Like just a few tweaks. And also you gain access to the strongest version of these if it's mono chapter.
Right. Mm-hmm. And even though they're the Ultramarines and the White Scars have their books, like there's still some clear and present combo buffs that other chapters get. Like the immediate one that comes to my head is Imperial Fist, the Siegebreaker battalion that loves to spam those Centurions. Now your Centurions have 4 wounds apiece with no additional point cost. Now you can put a chaplain in there for +1 to hit, to have your exploding dice on 5s and 6s. You can have a second chaplain in there to give that same unit +1 to wound. So you're dealing mortal wounds on 5s and 6s when you play that strategy. Is there
exploding on unmodified 6s or just 6s?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
God, I hope it's on all 6s. Oh my God.
I think it's on 6s too. If not, plus, because like basically what they used to do is they take the Phobos captain with the warlord trait. He could select a unit, give it +1 to hit, which would give them.
It's unmodified, confirmed by chat. Sadness. So still, hitting on 2s real good.
Yeah, hit on their 2s. But they changed that warlord trait to where it only affects Phobos units, so you can still do that.
But the
chaplains.
Yeah, and also eliminators they got good. They have las fusils. They have a bucket of rules.
Yeah, so eliminators are a clear winner for everybody.
Everyone.
First up, their bolt weapons went up to strength 5, which is great. That makes wounding the stuff that you want to be wounding, like weaker character models and stuff like that, makes them easier to wound. And then you're wounding Space Marines on 3s, which is awesome. They have an additional rule where if their sergeant does not fire, he conveys a +1 to hit, +1 to wound to the other 2 guys in the squad, which makes those bolt weapons way better and also makes the las fusils really scary. If you give him the carbine option, they can fire Overwatch with that carbine, and you don't even have to hit with it. You just have to, if the sergeant fires that carbine in Overwatch, they can then immediately move as if it were the move phase, which gives them such clutch tactical flexibility.
Man, I love them. I think they're just so strong. Can I get a fact check out there, though? On the chaplain's prayers, the one that lets you +1 to hit, is it +1 to hit for all units, a unit, or a model?
I think it's a unit.
Because someone mentioned it in chat, and I was like, you know what? I don't own the codex, and I don't want to misspeak to that, and I appreciate you guys for fact checking. I will. In the chat's also curious about what do you guys think about the successor tactics? I'm planning on making my own homebrew. Now's the time, brother.
Okay, so this is the direct wording. If this litany is inspiring, select one friendly chapter unit within 6. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a model in that unit against the closest visible enemy unit to that model, add 1 to the wound roll. Oh, that's the wound roll. Here's the hit roll.
So that one works on Leviathan real good.
Yeah, so it's again, select one friendly unit within 6 when resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by that a model in that unit, add 1 to the hit roll. So that's just in general.
So they're not great. They can't make a whole unit have +1 to hit. A model.
No, it is a whole unit because you select a unit.
Right. So you pick a unit, and then then a model has +1 to hit.
No, the way that it reads is like
it's a model. It's one model.
Is it one model? I don't think it is.
You read it twice, and it's both times it said one model, right? All right, read it one more time. Read it one more time for the chat.
If this litany is inspiring, select one friendly chapter unit within 6 inches of this model. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a model in that unit, add 1 to the hit roll.
Which is because weird. It can go both ways because there's plenty of things in the game that says all models in the unit, and there's plenty of times where it says 1.
Look at some of the stratagems because there's stuff for like
I think A does not mean 1. So I think it can be the whole model, the whole unit.
Yeah,
I think it's the whole unit because the reason they said a model makes the attack is because you can split fire.
Yeah. Agreed. I think that some people interpret A to mean 1 or single, but that's not what it means.
Yeah.
So it's just giving you. So I believe you're right. I do believe it's the unit. I backpedal on my statement.
You're right. We can do that at the Long War.
Yep. I reserve the right at all times.
Same way for Wisdom of the Ancients. So it says use this stratagem at the start of any phase. Select one chapter Dreadnought model from your army until the end of that phase. When resolving an attack made by a model in a friendly chapter unit within 6 inches of the selected model, reroll a hit roll of 1. It's always been like if you select a unit.
I do agree with some people in chat. Like, wouldn't it say models? It should say models. Yes, it should.
Yet again, we Americans are being weird because these books are written in British English.
Yeah, it should say models. And the big problem is that I guarantee across the board, GW hasn't been perfectly consistent with the way they choose the word.
Which is why we have the bane of our existence, which is rules as intended or rules as written.
Yeah. So I believe it is the entire unit. And I can definitely find enough precedent to support that argument. So
yes,
sounds real good. And I think that's the intent. Mm-hmm. So all good. Let's, so Eliminator's real good. Suppressor's real good. We kind of went over some of our favorite winners.
Yeah. We started answering that successor chapter tactics question.
Oh yeah. That's right.
I think it's a good thing. I think the traits are a great thing. They allow you to be fluffy and make your own homebrew chapter that's sanctioned essentially. It's a kind of a throwback to what they used to do, and I think it was 4th edition. They had a whole section just like that where you could just pick and go, okay.
You're like veteran abilities and all sorts of cool stuff. Doctrines. We had doctrines. It was so fresh.
Yeah, so it's really good. So
the only weird thing is if you're gonna go make your own custom shit, you don't get to use anything that has a chapter identity to it.
Yes.
So you don't get to use the cool ass Ultramarine ones or the White Scar ones or anything.
With the exception that if you do Inheritors of the Primarch, you can.
But then you're just doing a different color scheme.
Yeah. So basically, like if you have your own homebrew chapter and you're like, my guys are successors to the Salamanders, but they're painted like red.
It's GW authorizing you to play your not painted correctly models as any chapter you want.
Yes.
Exactly. Basically.
Which I don't care because we do that anyway in America. So we do it every month. Like I'm not going to repaint my cultists every time I want to try a different Chaos Legion, bro. I'm sorry. It's not a thing. It's not even a thing for you. Don't you have like a black and gray army that you play?
Oh yeah, I had the small Raven Guard force that we took to BAO last year, and then they FAQ'd us like the day before the event. And I was so fucking upset. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, they got rid of your Ford operator.
I had to play this garbage. Like, I mean, like, when you build an army around a thing like that, you kind of have to expect it. But I did not expect them to like get off of the plane and be like, "Oh, there's an FAQ today. I wonder what it says." And then like show up to the tournament, like FAQs are in place. Fuck. I'll just lose all these games. God damn it.
Womp womp.
Which did happen. It was terrible. I mean, that happened to me the first LVO of 8th edition, where they changed the Changeling aura and Brimstone Horrors a couple weeks before. So lost the 4 up and vulnerable and the -1 to hit. Big part of the army, but it was exploitive as hell. So I was like, at the end of the day, I'm like, whatever. Like, I understand your point, but it sucks. So, Ultramarines looking good. White Scars looking good. Space Marines looking good. Lots of winners. There is so much content on the internet right now, guys. People are putting out amazing videos left and right. I'm seeing so many videos pop up on my YouTube feed. Like, these are the 5 best combos in the codex. I click on every single one of them.
Nice.
Yeah. And I mean, this book just came out, and we're not even going to start seeing people play with these new rules in major tournaments probably until like the middle of next month, or like the start of September, because most rules cutoffs for major events are about 20 to 30 days out usually, right? With some exceptions. So like probably in 2 weeks, we're going to start seeing a lot of different ideas with this new book. So keep an eye on your BCP app. Keep an eye on the articles coming out of Spiky Bits, where they're going to be talking about who did what at these big events, because I think we still have probably a couple of months before all the puzzle pieces kind of lock together on what's going to be like the big boogeyman of a list coming out of the Space Marines Codex.
That's true. Well, God, I don't have Rob here, and I think we did all the things we wanted to do. So I'm just going to have to Haspil, take us out of here.
Now, if a slap don't work, you cut them or you pay them, but you keep your receipts, because this ain't the mafia.